Morning everybody, here we are again. Hopefully going to be trying to do one of these about once a week, so we'll see how we go. In the comments last time, one of the people commented, don't people normally do this behind sets of books, you know, to make them look really important and like they live in a library. Well, I've moved from the bedroom that I was in last time. I'm in the living room and I'm in front of the telly because, let's be real, the only reason I'm not watching Netflix all day long is because we don't have Netflix, but there you go. Anyway, last time, if you were listening last time, you'll know that I mentioned something about this guy, this disabled guy, and Jesus met him and Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And so I thought I'd look a little bit more at that story this week. So the story goes that Jesus is in Jericho and the crowds and his disciples and his friends are all with him. And he's leaving Jericho. He's done what he needed to do in Jericho and he's heading out of the city and he's actually on his way to Jerusalem. And when he reaches Jerusalem, the events are going to unfold that lead to his crucifixion. So he's obviously got some stuff on his mind. But as he's leaving the city, there's this blind beggar called Bartimaeus who is sitting by the roadside, and Bartimaeus knows that something's going on and he says to the people around him, "Who's this? You know, what's happening?" And they tell him it's Jesus, and this spark of interest is put in him and he starts shouting out to Jesus and he starts saying, "Jesus, Jesus, look at me, is there anything you can do for me? Help me, Jesus." And the crowds all around him are saying to him all this time, "Look, will you just be quiet? Will you just stop shouting? Jesus hasn't got time for you. He's not interested. He's leaving the town. Look, he's off. Just be quiet." But Jesus hears Bartimaeus shouting and he stops. And he says, "Come here." And Bartimaeus chucks his cloak off, actually, and he goes to Jesus. And Jesus says to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And Bartimaeus, quite unsurprisingly, says, "I want my sight back. I want to be able to see." And Jesus says to him, "Go, your faith has made you well." So there's a couple of things out of that story that I think it's worth looking at. And the first thing is to do with the crowds, actually. The first thing is to do with giving ourselves time to listen to Jesus. You see, the thing is, Jesus always has time for us, always. Here he's got a lot of stuff on his mind, obviously. You know, he's human as much as he's God, and he knows that he's going to be very, very shortly facing a horrible death. And he has done everything that he was meant to do in Jericho, and that's why he's leaving, but he's still got time to stop and to speak to Bartimaeus and to make a huge difference in Bartimaeus' life. Jesus always has time for us, but I think sometimes, whether we've been in this Christian lark an awfully long time or whether we're just paddling around the edges, the crowd can get in the way of us having time for Jesus. Because in our normal lives, you know, we are busy people. We have to go to work, we have to make sure the kids are fed, we have to do the shopping, we have to, you know, do the stuff, spend the time with our friends. All of that sort of stuff is all valid and reasonable and real stuff that we have to do. And sometimes out of the corner of our eye we'll catch a glimpse of something and we'll think, was that Jesus going past? Was that an opportunity that I had to maybe get to know him a little bit better, maybe pray, maybe talk to him, maybe find out a little bit more about him? But the crowd, the pressure of life, if you like, the crowd gets in the way of us being able to give our time to Jesus in the same way as he always has time for us. And maybe at the moment, maybe we are, some of us anyway, in that position where we do have more time, when life is not just as frantic as it normally is, because a lot of the things that we would normally legitimately be spending our time doing, we haven't got. So maybe the crowd has thinned out just a little bit at the moment. And maybe if we're at all interested in seeing what Jesus could do for us, maybe now's the time. Maybe now is the time, because the pressure of normal life is maybe not just so extreme as it normally is for us. So Jesus always has time for us. And it would be good for us to make time for Jesus. But, you know, I'm all about the practical. So how does that happen? Well, I'm really excited actually and pleased that I think society has finally caught up with the idea that actually you can't have it all. Actually, you know, having it all was this big thing. It was this big mantra, wasn't it? Maybe early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. You could have it all. As long as you tried hard enough, you could have it all, you know. And I think that now we're living in a society where we realise that actually for the state of our own mental health, really, if nothing else, we can't have it all. It's not reasonable for us to have it all. And actually, for our own mental and our own physical health, we need to have some me time. You know, that's what it's called. But whatever you call it, we need to have some time for ourselves to be able to stay healthy. And that me time might look very different to lots of people. Me time for me sometimes looks like gardening or crocheting or stuff like that. Maybe me time for you is going for a walk, just escaping from everything that's going on. Maybe me time for you is, I don't know, pounding it out at the gym. God bless you if it is. They certainly wouldn't stay in business if it was down to me. But we all have a need for me time. So maybe the easiest way to invite Jesus into your life to ask, so that he can ask you the question, what do you want me to do for you? Maybe the easiest way to do that at the moment is just let him into your me time. You know, if you're going for a walk, maybe consider his creation. You know, he created this place because he loves us so much and he placed us within it, and he's ready. He is always ready to speak. And maybe we have time to listen at the moment. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that always interested me about this story was when Bartimaeus comes to Jesus, Jesus says to him, your faith has made you well. And I think, well, how did Jesus know that Bartimaeus has got faith? All he's done, you know, there wasn't any Specsavers. He didn't have much option, did he? He couldn't go and get eye surgery done. And he'd heard that Jesus was this person that had healed some people. So why wouldn't you, you know, try your luck with Jesus, if you like, if it was your only chance? But Jesus saw that he had faith. And we often think of beggars as just being, you know, beggars, the lowest of the low. But actually, when you look at it, Bartimaeus had a job, right? Okay, it was begging. It wasn't a great job, but it was a job. And it had obviously kept body and soul together because he was alive. And, you know, he's obviously a grown adult at the time. So he's alive. He's got a job. People know him. You know, the crowd knew who he was. So he's obviously got a place of work where he goes every day. He's got some measure of security, and the reason that he can beg is because he's blind. Yeah, so he's not going to get the sympathy to beg if he hasn't got the disability. If his blindness is taken away, he can no longer beg because people won't give him money. But also because he's always been a beggar, obviously he's not qualified to do anything else. He hasn't got a trade like a carpenter or a fisherman or whatever it might be. So in saying to Jesus, Jesus, I want you to make me well, what he's saying is, Jesus, what I'm going to do is, with the faith that I've got, be it ever so small, I'm going to put my trust in you to make things okay. I'm not going to cling on to the security of the only financial stability that I've ever been able to find. Interestingly as well, it's not only in his mind, because as he gets up, he throws off his cloak and goes to Jesus. Well, he doesn't necessarily need to do that, does he? But he's throwing off his cloak, which is his physical security, and he's leaving that behind, and he's saying, okay, Jesus, here I am, and will you make me well? And I think he's asking Jesus for more than, will you just make me physically well? Will you just make me able to see? I think he's saying to Jesus, actually, I have faith that if I come to you, even in this small way, that you will be able to help my soul, help my innermost being be well. Now, whether we've got the smallest, tiniest, you know, drop inkling that Jesus might have something for us, that Jesus might actually even come to us and say, okay, what do you want me to do for you? or whether we've been around this a long time but we still struggle to put our entire trust in Jesus. Jesus is very close today, and Jesus would say to you, I want to do for you only good things, and I want to make your life more than you can imagine. And if you put whatever measure of trust you have, whatever measure of faith you have in me, and choose to spend some time with me, and choose to listen to what I have to say, then I can transform your life. Bartimaeus didn't go, actually. When Jesus said to him, go, your faith has made you well, Bartimaeus, I can imagine him saying, yeah, right, and I'm going to wander off now. He joined the crowd that was with Jesus, and he followed him down the road. And the same invitation that Jesus gave to Bartimaeus is still there for us today. Hopefully see you next week. God bless. Bye.